Okay, did you get that?
I did.
All right. Hello, everybody. I am Kimbro, aka the Pod Brother, aka Ref Kimbro, for the Penalty Game podcast. Some of my friends who know me from New York might know me as Hey, stop that guy, he's got my wallet. But today, I am here with Michelle, and we are going to have some fun. We're going to chop it up, learn a little bit about what she does, and very, very, very excited to, before we get the show started, to let you guys know about the PNN Academy Comedy Film Festival is happening April 1st, April Fool's Day through the 6th. Please show up. It's not an April Fool's Day joke. And my birthday is April 5th, so this year it lands on a Saturday. So I always do a blowout birthday weekend event anytime my birthday lands on a Saturday, and it happens to happen this year. So I'm very, very excited. We've got comedians coming out, podcasters, filmmakers, film festival gurus. It's going to be fun. We've got entertainers, actors, directors, writers. We're going to do a table read. We're going to have a red carpet. We're going to do a ribbon cutting. It's going to be a very, very cool comedy experience on my birthday. And if you want to be on my guest list, just hit me in the DMs. Be like, hey, Pod Brother, I want to come and check out the PNN Academy Film Festival. And I'll hook you up on my guest list, my VIP. And Michelle, you're on my VIP for coming on my
Woohoo.
show today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for carving out some time out of your busy life to chop it up with me here for a few minutes.
No, thank you for having me. I know you have so many amazing guests, and it's just an honor to be part of the lineup. So
Yeah,
thank
well,
you.
Jaron turned me on to you, and I respect him as a filmmaker and a talent and a collaborator. And so whenever he says, "Hey, I got somebody really fascinating, talented, and interesting you should have on your podcast," I jump at the chance to make that happen. And I didn't realize that you had a Mona Lisa-ish look. Yeah, I like your
Thank,
look.
thank you. I didn't know it either until you just told
Yeah,
me that. So this
yeah,
is really
yeah.
cool.
You're
Really
you're a
one of
living
them. So,
you're a living painting,
ooh.
and you make art. That's awesome.
I
So
like
let's
to smile. She doesn't smile much, so it's all
well,
good.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're Mona Lisa with a smile.
Thank
So,
you. I love that.
so it's kind of cool. So let's just dive right straight into like how you get down and who you are a little bit about where you come from, where you are. Um, I know that you have inspiration when creating your music. So this question goes a little deep for you. Which one of your songs is a song that really resonates with you, and you wrote it and you sing it primarily for you? I know there's, as a comedian, there's jokes that I do that are just for me. I write them for me. They're funny to me. Sometimes they get a great laugh with the audience. Sometimes it drops dead, but I don't care. This is a joke that I just love to do. Do you have a song like that where, if money, is not what you're looking for, fame is not what you're looking for, you don't care how many views on Instagram you get, it's just a song that you wrote for you, and every time you play it or hear it or think about it, it's just something that resonates with you. What song is that for you?
So every time I write a song, I really pray about it first if I'm writing with other musicians, because I feel like you have to make sure the energy is right, and that you are with a great, amazing somebody who's like-minded. I always pray, God, align me with people who are kind, loving, and caring. They're like-minded. I can uplift and help, and they can uplift and help me in return, and we can just amazing, become amazing friends and do great things in the world. One of the songs I would definitely have to say is when I first moved out here, I was here about a year and a half, and my manager introduced me to an amazing vocal coach, and I worked with her. Of course, I had been out here 6 months, and he's like, I know you're out here. I've been waiting for your call," and I was like, "Oh, busted!" So, but getting back into the world again was really exciting for me. It's with this song I met Ronnie King, and right away we just had great chemistry, great friendship, just like you and I. You just things click. And we sat down at the piano, and I immediately always record because the first take is always, I always feel like I ask God to use me as his vessel. And that song, I wrote the lyrics within 35 minutes. And Ronnie was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. Yeah, I was like, yeah, yeah. And then I don't even, the thing is, the funny thing is how you said, and go back and listen to it again. I don't always remember what I write until I go back and listen to it again. And then I have to learn what I wrote and what I sang. It's kind of funny, right? And that's how I really know that God's using me as his vessel, because he'll be like, can you sing what you just said? I'm like, hold on, I have to listen to what I wrote because and then I write it all down. And if I don't have my iPad or computer, I'll just write it all down, and then we go and record it, start the recording process, and going from there. The writing part was really the easiest part for me. Well, I singing is the funnest part, but it happened really fast. But with Goodbye, it's really a great song because I moved out here in the middle of the pandemic in late October, early November of 2020. And everybody's going through so much, not just through the pandemic, but just in life in general. I think that this song is talking about as we grow up and we're used to like doing things, and how are forced sometimes to be a little bit more mature than other people, and have to go through our trials and tribulations, our struggles and learning process. But when you see what's on the other line, like everybody says, wait until you 5 years from now and look back and see where you are. Really, it's like that. And this song is just talking about saying goodbye to the past and knowing who you are and empowering who you are, and be like, I'm awesome. Like, yeah, you're awesome. Goodbye. Like, moving forward, you're behind me for a reason. I said what I had to say, and I'm moving forward. And it's it's a beautiful song because it's a song that everybody can relate to, because it wasn't written just for me. It's written for everyone. And I've had people who contact me and they're like, you wrote the word lyrics to that song? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, and they've asked me to co-write with them, and I do co-write with them and stuff. But it's just that was really one of the first songs I wrote when I first came out here and started writing again, because I've been writing all my life. But this process that I really, when I moved out here, I decided I'm just doing God's will, and I'm doing things differently because my music from my past has manifested. So I've learned that be intentional with your words, because words are like spells. It's like spell is a word, whatever. Everything you say is like a prayer, and everything you do when you say it, be intentional with it, because you don't want to hurt somebody, right? Um, and anything you can listen to a song and it can make you really angry, right? And just like upset and remind you of that girl or that guy that like did that to you. You're like, oh, but then you have like this uplifting song, and it just changes everything and it makes you happy. So that's probably one of the songs I would have to say is Goodbye. And but there's so many of other songs. Like I have a new song that's out right now, and it's called The Light in Me. And that song is about having how with it just takes one person to make a change in their life, and you could be that person to change that person's life. So like anybody listening to your podcast, because what you're doing is making that change and changing people's life. When you go up and you're standing in front of thousands of people doing your comedy, that's changing. That one thing you said can change that person's life. You even calling out that person, and like, you guys, you do that. You guys always call out on somebody, right? But you calling them out on what they needed to hear might change that person's life. And so the song, The Light in Me, that's what it's about. It's like it takes one person to change, and that person's you and me. So when I see a person on the street, I try to look at the best in everyone, even if they're angry and mean, or if somebody, okay, road rage. Here's a good example. I don't think I've ever told anybody this story on any podcast, but I got my my dream car, which is like a cute little convertible Volkswagen Beetle one like years ago, and I love it, right? So it's a love bug. Totally fits my personality, right? And so I'm driving my car and I'm in New Mexico. That's where I'm from originally. And I get up on the ramp on the freeway and I didn't cut anybody off. And some angry lady just drives right next to me and just in this blue Jeep and just throws her big drink at me, like full, like Coke right out my car, and it left a dent in it. And I looked at her and I waved and I just said, I'm praying for you. And I thought, man, that poor thing, she's probably really thirsty. Just threw that whole Coke at my car. But instead of like, I always try to put that spin on it, you know what? And so I left that little dent in my car. It's really tiny, but it's a reminder of like, yeah, I can get it taken out. Most people would. I'm aware of that. But for me, it's a reminder of like, it's just a car, but it protected me from a crazy woman. And you know what? Maybe she needed that prayer. Maybe she needed somebody to like take it out on. And for me, most people would have followed her. And I mean, I just got my car. It was brand new, and it's my dream car, and it's Coke, and you know how it can destroy your paint and all that. And I just was like, yeah, I'll be all right. And you just don't know. But yeah, I just like to look at the best in everyone, even if they're being jerks. so, so you just kind of like take it with a grain of salt and move forward. And the light in me is telling you, you know what? Help that other person, help people without them even knowing. And when you, and I think I talked about this with you earlier when we were just meeting each other. But yeah, I walked down the street. I've been in other areas multiple times and just smiled at somebody and said, good afternoon. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're the first person who's ever talked to me today. And that made my day. And to be honest with you, to be really sincere with you, I've had this happen twice now. And I don't share this a lot, but I had a friend whom I did go up to and I was like, hey, you look amazing. How are you doing? And she's like, thank you for asking me. I'm not doing good. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's talk. And I went and I sat and I talked to her and I was just like, look at this. Look what you're doing. And I just gave her everything that she does for me as a person. And I didn't know her very well. I barely started working with her. And I explained to her that what I've witnessed from my perspective and how amazing she was. And then she came back to me. She said, you know what, Michelle? Um, you saved my life. Like, what do you mean? She goes, I was going to go kill myself yesterday. And you made me see the purpose I have. And that is by being that one person who can make a change. And a lot of people won't do that because they're afraid. They're afraid of the unknown, or they're too bothered, or they feel like they're too good to talk to people, or they're better than other people. We're not, we're all the same. Like a lot of people look at actors and musicians like they're stars. Like, oh my gosh, we're not stars. We're just like everyone else. We are just have our gifts, and this is our gifts, and we are sharing it. They have their own special gifts. Quite frankly, I'm not a neurosurgeon, so don't ask me to do brain surgery on you, right? But I can write you a song and help touch you in a way that no other person can. So everyone has a special gift, and a lot of people just don't know how to appreciate it, or they don't see it as a gift. They see it as easy for them. And yeah, so I think like with your podcast, what you do is just amazing. So yeah, sorry for rambling, but the light in me is really cool because it just tells you what takes one person to make a difference in the world, and we all could be that person. We can all make that change. So that's another one. I don't know. I can go on and on and on. So I'll stop at that one because I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
well, no, I
rambling.
mean, my podcast is here. I mean, I'm one of those hosts to hear from my guest. So, if you have something to say and you want to talk, I will let you talk. And so, what you're saying is fascinating and interesting and sincere and from the heart. So there's no reason to interrupt you until you're ready to take a breath and let me ask you another question. Um, so what you were saying early about people, who feel they're better than you, or they look at you and they like think you're better than me. As a comedian, I'm always using humor to diffuse any negative situation, and I'm always using humor to create and get into an opportunity that I normally wouldn't have. And that's the magic of humor that I have found, which is why I have embraced a lifelong commitment in this whole comedy industry. And, listening to you and having people go, "Oh, yeah, you're funny, but you know, you're not that funny." And you can't do that. And it's like, wait a minute, like I've made you laugh. And I make people laugh, and people have paid me to make them laugh. So what I realized is they're comparing me where I sit right now in my early stages of comedy development to Richard Pryor or George
Mhm.
Carlin or Eddie Murphy. And once I realized that in their perception, they're saying I can't be Eddie Murphy, or I can't be Richard Pryor, or I can't be George Carlin. And there's only one of those individuals. Like nobody can be them because they are them, and there's only one of them in the universe. But I can commit my life to be me at that level over a lifetime. And that's what I realized they don't see. They
Mhm.
because they're instantly comparing me to someone mega successful and famous and rich. And
Mhm.
they see me and they're like, well, you can't do that. It's like, you can't do that. And they don't know what I can or can't do. But I do know anything that you commit to and anything that you put your heart and mind, soul, and body to, you can do very well. And that very well could be something that could be incredible and amazing to the universe. And you don't know what that is until you actually get in and you start doing it. And it's been motivational for me as a comedian. Anybody who tries to knock me down or insult me or bring me negativity or throw their coke at my car, that lets me know I'm on the right track.
Exactly.
I am
Exactly.
on the right track because my pursuit of of leveling up for myself, whatever that is, has made you realize you're not doing that. And
Mhm.
because you're not doing that, you're angry at yourself. And like you said, maybe she needed somebody to take that out on, and she took that out on you. So yeah, you can use me as a punching bag to get rid of your frustration because you've realized that you're not going for anything that you were gifted. And you said you're a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual person as well. My spirituality comes from a place where I feel I was given a gift. I feel we're all given a gift. I think the two
Mhm.
most important days in your life is the day you were actually conceived and was able to um, uh, complete term and be born.
Mhm.
That the day of conception is the best day of your life because that's when that spark of conception and development happened for you to be a host human being to come onto this planet and try to do something. The second greatest day in your life is when you discover why you're here and you actually go for it. And a lot of people don't. They don't know why they're here. They don't know what gifts they've got. The gift that they do know they have, they're not doing anything with it. They're taking it to the grave with them. And that's not you, and that's not me. In my mind, as a comedian, I imagine when you pass and you get to the pearly gates, there's going to be a bouncer doorman with a clipboard, and on that clipboard is going to be a list of all the gifts that the man upstairs gave you.
Hmm.
And his job is to see if you used any of those gifts while you were down on earth in your host body. And if you haven't used those gifts, then you're not coming in because I gave you some gifts. You made $1 billion selling insurance, but on this clipboard, that wasn't a gift that I gave you to make a byproduct for mankind. I
Or
gave you the gift of music or humor or art or motivation.
or how
See,
they're using their gift too.
yeah. And how you're using it. Yeah, it's like I gave it to you, but you didn't use it in a way that I intended for you to use it. So
Mhm.
no, you're not coming in. And every gift I feel I was ever given, I've always tried to see it, use it, develop it, and turn it into something that can be a wow factor for me, because if it's a wow factor for me, then I think that's going to ripple out into other people feeling that's a wow factor too, which is why those people who um, are jealous of my attitude, my talent, the fact that I'm willing to put the work in to develop whatever gift I got and they're not, that's why they're throwing their Coke at my car. And that's okay.
Mhm.
That's why you're heckling me. That's why you're sitting in the audience in the dark and you're judging and you're heckling and you're sitting there with your arms crossed because I'm reminding you that I got a gift. Here's what I'm doing with it. You probably have a gift. You're doing nothing with it, or you're doing the wrong thing with it. And
Mhm.
that's how I see it. And I think you with your music kind of see it in somewhat the same way, but instead of comedy, it's music for you.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that is such a great analogy and perspective on how when you go to heaven, that is a great analogy and perspective because it's true. I do believe that every person has a gift. And I think sometimes people are trying to steal other people's gifts. So there's people that um, know that, for instance, know that they're super intelligent and they're supposed to change the world and they're supposed to be this amazing attorney or something, right? That they can art, they have a gift to be able to help people in that way, or a physician, right? They're how many cardiothoracic surgeons can really be as awesome as they are, to go to school and to really honor that gift. It's the same thing that they had to go to school to get there, right? We have our own type of schooling that we have to do to get to the point that we're going to do because we know it's our gift, right? And I think too many people are like, with technology, they're like, I want to have what she has or what he has, so I'm going to steal some jokes and I'm going to steal some songs from them and make them mine and try to sing it with, some great technology. And you can see the purity in what's real and what's God given to you and what's created and fake. Does that make sense? And that's what's sad. And because they have a gift they're supposed to be using, but like I said, they're not using it. And that gift that they're using probably can change the world, just like the gifts that we're using are going to change the world.
Right.
And it's very selfish. I'm not judging them, but it's selfish. Like if we don't share our gifts, that's selfish of us. And that's something I had to realize too, is like by not singing, because I stopped singing for 10 years. And
Well, before you get into that, let's go into how you first got started. When you were a little girl, you said you were singing and you
oh
were
my
exposed to
gosh.
music when you were like a toddler. So
Oh,
when did you first recognize that you had a musical talent that could move people? And there is a moment when that happens. There's like a switch that happens when I was a kid and all of a sudden I made my grandfather laugh. And I thought, that was super cool. Like I don't see him laugh that often. And I just
mhm.
did it. And that's from that point on, I recognized the power in laughter and being the person who can make another person laugh. And I was that annoying kid for a moment until I figured out to bring it back. But when was that for you? That first moment of in front of an audience, and you could tell you had something to offer in the talent of singing.
So I would say there, I'm gonna break it up in two different parts. Because when I was a child, my parents were amazing. They still are amazing. They're actually really cool. My dad used to wake us up in the morning saying, "I'm so glad, I'm so glad, I'm glad, I'm glad." Like, oh my gosh, first thing in the morning. But when I was two, we used to sit in the car driving, and this is before car seats, and we'd have that little thing that go down. And I remember sitting next to my mom and working on nursery rhymes, and we'd harmonize, and she would be like, and for some strange reason, I remember things that I shouldn't remember, like most people. But I'm very grateful, thank you God, that I do remember. But I remember sitting. I remember my pigtails, and my horrible bangs, and so. But we would, nursery rhymes, and I didn't think anything. I was just having fun with my parents singing, but everybody would be like, "Oh, Michelle, let's sing our nursery rhymes," and kind of like I'm sure some people do nowadays, but my parents, it was just like a fun thing we did in our family. And in church, I would sing and everybody would stop and look at me. And I didn't understand why. And so for me, it was like, do I sound bad? Because you know how sometimes you think you sound really good and you're like, oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, don't. So I didn't know if they're staring at me because I sounded good or if I should just keep my mouth shut. And then all of a sudden as I got older in church, people would start approaching me and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I have something. And I didn't, again, still didn't really click until, again, this is the first part. I guess it would be probably until like I was in high school choir and things of that nature, and I know I have a different sound, and I knew that I was singing on point when I went to a competition and I had bronchitis. And it's in choir, they have what is it? All It's like an all-star. It's basically like the best of the best in the state for singing, whatever. And I was sick. And everybody was so mad because I was chosen. And I was like, oh. And I had to sing an octave lower because my voice was so sick. But I was able to sing an octave lower and still hit high notes without realizing it. And that was an honor for me. Now I didn't get to and it was really cool. There's a lot, and that's when I realized, like, okay, I think I have something. I really want to do this. I want to do this. So I started writing on my own. And I always and just kind of figuring out music and like, okay, that's great, that's great. And I still was kind of, I felt like an imposter for years. Like, am I really that great? I don't know if you ever felt like that imposter syndrome.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's automatic when you're a creator that that kicks in. It's kind of like it's a self check
yeah,
in, are you really where you're supposed to be? And why are you here? And why should you go further? Why should you continue? The that imposter syndrome, when that happens and you can push past it, that's when you
yeah,
know you're off to the races.
yeah. And so I remember I was in a healthy relationship, and that person didn't really believe in my music and was telling me other things like, oh, you're not, what I was hearing in my head was what he was saying. And so I was like assuming that's what it was. But then why would managers be flying me out to California to do showcases on their dime. But at that time, when you have another person in your head, like I said, there's good and bad and everything, and you have to align yourself. And so I quit singing for a long time. And then, so the second time I really realized that, oh, okay, this is something I'm supposed to do is I, I was divorced and I'm also a registered respiratory therapist. So I work during the day saving lives and at night I save spirits and souls, but with music. And I was with patients and they're alone and they were sad. And I go in there and I'd sing to them. And this lady looked at me and she's like, "Are you an angel?" And I'm like, "No, but thank you." And she's like, and it hit me. She's like, "Your voice, I feel so much better. I feel like it's healing me. Will you come again tomorrow?" And so found myself going to, on my lunch breaks and on my breaks, going to patients' rooms that didn't have family or didn't were alone, or even if they did have family, and I would go sing to them. And they were like, "Why aren't you, doing this?" And I'm like, "Actually, I am a professional singer. I just," they're like, "What are you doing? You're this kind of like, why I appreciate you saving my life and helping me live, but this is something that this is different. Like the way your voice sounds, it's." And ironically, it happened to me again. It had that really opened my eyes to like, Shall you have a gift? Music heals people. And if you're using music in the right way, you can mend a heart. You can actually uplift somebody and make them so amazing. And I realized that when I was younger and I'd sing, it was jealousy from other people that they'd be like, "Oh, Michelle, you're so loud. Don't, you're just being so loud when you sing. Can't you sing quieter?" Like when a person close to me would say that, you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm not sounding good." Now I realize it was just envy and jealousy because they couldn't be who I am. Therefore, you just realize that, like, okay, and as you mature and you become older, you realize you're not an imposter. You're not an imposter. They were trying to make you feel like an imposter because they saw the gift and it scared them.
Yeah, that's what happens. Who has inspired you? Like, somebody who is, that you recognize musically. I mean, this could be someone famous, someone not, or, somebody who may or may not even be in the music industry. Who has inspired you to like really go for it?
My parents, my parents been married for 55 years. Um, um, but they inspire me. And the reason why is because without them, I wouldn't be here. And God used them to create me, to give me this gift to help the world. And that's pretty awesome. So I'm grateful that my parents kept me, and my dad begged my mom to have me. I was the third one, third time's a charm. But I do believe that, like singing the Beatles with my dad and, all these opera songs with my mom, they're such two different realms. Made me who I am because they give me that diversity. My dad, like we're listening to soul music, some great R&B to like when they were in Frank Sinatra. Like they just give me this this great opportunity to just be myself. And then when I write, like now it's like I try to just I finally feel like I found who I am because I think as even as a comedian, like you're writing and you don't want to sound like this guy or this guy. You got to have your own swag, right? And I think it was great finally finding my own style of what I'm supposed to be doing. Can I sing this style? Yes. Can I sing that style? Yes. Do you need me to sing this? I can do that for you. That's not a problem. But when I'm writing my own music, I have that style, that swag that's for me. That's for me. And if to find that, it's because of my parents, because they literally introduced to me to some, they would, a nursery rhyme that how everybody else would sing it, they would change it and create it in their own style.
Right.
And it was great. So, but like, and so now, like, I'm not like a person, and I probably should be. And I always get in trouble for this from from people. They're like, Michelle, you need to be more like, you know, Aretha Franklin, Etta James. Do I love Etta James? Oh my gosh. Yes, I love her. Do I love Aretha? Oh my gosh. Yes. Do I think without them, the music it wouldn't be what they are? Yes. Yes. Whitney Houston. Yes. There's so many amazing artists that I just find to be so wow. Dolly Parton, everybody, I don't know, Andre Pacelli. You just there's the list can go on of greatness, right? But I guess for me, it's the people who aren't being recognized who created them. You see what I'm saying? They instill something in them that made them great. So really you have to look at I like to go deep, but I don't mean to, but it's like, yeah, it would have to be my parents.
Yeah, that's
And
where you sit right now, um, with your music career. What would you say is, I guess, the pros and cons of being in the music industry, like where you sit right now?
um finding out who your true friends are, feeling used, being having amazing fans that are so awesome, but then also having crazy people who try to hurt you. Um, envy and jealousy it's a sad thing, but I try to surround myself with people who are like-minded because you have that soul tribe around you, right? And you're spiritual like I am. You get that soul tribe around you, you're protected. I keep my circle small. Before I used to have like all these people. I'm friends, acquaintances with a lot of people, and I'm always going to be there for them, but I keep my soul tribe small. And I think that's super important because it keeps you grounded and it keeps you aligned with what your purpose is and what you're supposed to be. Um, in the music world, a lot of times it can make you have a really big head and it can make you conceited and it can make you stray from who you really are. And that's why you have to have that small soul tribe to align you back to where you need to be. So I think that's a kind of mixture of pros and cons. But yeah, I think the pros of it all, though, to be honest with you, is it's fun and I love it. And I think I was raised when you sing, it's twice a prayer. So when you sing something that's from your heart, it's twice a prayer. Like, heck yeah, I want a double bonus. Like, who doesn't want a bonus, right? So I I love it whenever you're just jamming with people and the people you meet, the pros, the other artists that you meet, the fans that you meet, they're like, hey, like when you sang that song and this is how I felt and I can totally feel it from you, or would you sing this song for me? And I'm like, yeah. And then I'll sing a song for them. They're like, okay, I liked your song more. I just wanted to hear the lyrics and compare. And they're like, wow, like, and that's what's exciting is when people can actually recognize what you're doing is enlightening them and making them happy. Or when you have people, I sing at this uh, this event. It was an empowering women's event for abused women, and but when I sang my song, I looked in the crowd and they all were crying. Not all of them, but a lot of them were crying, and they stood up and clapped. And I had just had surgery, I remember, and I wasn't even supposed to be doing anything yet, but I wanted to sing at this event, and I had been asked, and I was like, no, I'm going, I'm going, I'm going. And ironically, that is the song that went viral first, that video. And that's a touching moment. That's when it's like, oh my goodness, it's real. And I'm actually impacting people. And I'm that one person that can make a change because it takes one person to make a change. And it starts with me and it starts with you. And that's what the line in me is all about. But the cons are, yeah, there's a lot of evil in this world, in the industry. There's a lot of negativity in this industry, and there's a lot of jealousy. And we have to be careful because myself as a woman and yourself too as a man, women are crazy. You know that. Like they are crazy. Men are crazy. It's not there, it goes both ways. And we have to be careful, but I know for a fact I've seen evil in this world and I've had great management that has protected me from them. So when people are like, "Oh no," I'm like, "No, we're in a spiritual warfare right now. There is a spiritual warfare going on right now." And quite frankly, I'm a soldier of Jesus and I am very proud. And I'm not a religious person at all. I'm very spiritual. Um, I don't I look at things in a different way. We can talk about that later, but there is a spiritual warfare. And I remember seeing this man that I has flown. I was doing showcase in California. I was flown out here, and my manager was running late, and they had another showcase thing going on out down the street. And I happened to go into it, and I was like, "Oh, here's my song." They're like, "Oh," and they played it, and I sang. And this guy was always at these events, and this guy was so handsome. He was this tall black guy, like dark chocolate, and he was like 6'4", 6'5", well, like strong, muscular. And my manager, she always told me stay away from him. And she's this gorgeous. She was this gorgeous Jamaican woman. Like she's amazing. Andrea, I love you still to this day. She's not in the music world anymore, but I love her so much. And she always told me to stay away from him. And I did. But this day she wasn't there, and he saw me by myself, like the prey, you know? And I remember there is something about his eyes that like hypnotized you. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you this and this." And all of a sudden I found myself walking with him, and he's like, and I don't even remember like what was going. It was like he hypnotized me, and it's crazy because there's people like that out there. And all of a sudden, Andrea came today, like my angel, my guardian angel. And she said, "Get that beepity beep away from my girl." And she had a Jamaican accent, so it was really cool. And she's like, and grabbed me. And she's like, "I told you, you come near her, you touch her eye." And she just let him have it. And he like, it was like you could see the evil demon just run away. And, and I went like this. And I remember like going, oh my gosh, like that was evil. That was the first time I faced, like, I saw evil in a person. Does that make sense? I don't know if you've ever experienced that or not. You
Oh,
probably think,
yeah. Yeah, no, there's some evil people out there, and they do have a magical spell. They have a power. They're very magnetic and charismatic and beautiful and strong. And, a lot of those physical attributes that we associate with strength, beauty, and power, and because we've been conditioned to do
mhm,
that at a very young age, that stays with you for a lifetime. You have to deprogram that as you get older. And the one thing comedy has taught me is how to instantly deprogram all of that, because comedy forces you to take a look at the reality of what society is trying to hide and trying to dupe and trying to hype and trying to um, intoxicate you on propaganda. And all those people, those types of people, those predators and those narcissists and those greedy, negative people, they feed on that because they're the ones who implemented that system, those codes into our society and into our lives anyway. So when some people like you through your music and me through my comedy, uh, insert a decode, they're they don't like that. So the first thing they want to do is to try to trip you up, to try to sabotage you, try to destroy
E-
you, to try to
Exactly.
hypnotize you and diffuse you, try to get you on some addiction so they can
Hmm.
control you through an addiction of some sort. And you know, you have to be aware not only that they exist, but they come in such beautiful packages
Yes,
that
they do.
you have to be aware of that. You have to
Yeah.
have your radar up,
Mm.
and it's almost like you have to always just count to 10.
Hmm.
It's a count to 10 so that you can take some time to diffuse that infatuation, that internal honeymoon that you're already on with them.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not easy because they're really good and they're
Yeah.
very sexy and they're attractive. They got cool houses, cool cars, hot
Hmm.
bodies. You know, there are so many people out there who, use those tools and those gifts in the wrong way. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. But the good news is there's a lot of beautiful people out there that are using those gifts in the right direction as well. And when you meet them, that their beauty and their strength and all of the wonderful assets that they're given as a human being is exciting and refreshing and cool and can be appreciated the right way. And
So
you have a relationship and develop a coalition and moving what you
mhm.
do in the right direction with some really beautiful.
Yes, and I 1,000% agree with you. But the hard thing too is because there's people out there. It paused. I don't know if you know that it paused or not.
I think that's just the internet.
Okay. Because the people are out there like that. A lot of times people misjudge us. Like for me, they're like, "You're really nice. Nobody is that nice, Michelle. Nobody's that kind." They until they get to know me, they don't believe.